But then God shows that no, now you are trusting in yourself. You are seeing yourself as having attained all this stuff. You're seeing yourself as having gotten this mighty military power. But it was God's blessing. He followed God, except, well, it was just a little thing. I mean, come on. He just went in and burned some incense. It was a kind of a prideful thing. It wasn't a big thing. It wasn't like he killed somebody or something. It was just a little thing. If you turn back to 2 Kings, we'll take a look at the second king very quickly. Not much information about him. His name is Jotham. And as we've heard, he became the co-regent with his father as his father got leprosy because his father had to be isolated. And listen to what it says in 2 Kings 15, starting to read at verse 32 now. Jotham, in the second year of Pekah, the son of Remaliah, king of Israel, Jotham, the son of Uzziah, king of Judah, began to reign. He was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Jerusha, the daughter of Zadok. And he did what was right in the sight of the Lord. He did according to all that his father Uzziah had done. However, the high places were not removed. The people still sacrificed and burned incense on the high places. He built the upper gate of the house of the Lord. And now the rest of the acts of Jotham, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? Well, as a matter of fact, they are. And if you kept your place in 2 Chronicles 26, we can see what it has to say about Jotham. Actually, you got to go to chapter 27, verse 1. It says the same thing. He was 25 when he became king. He reigned 16 years. And his mother's name. Verse 2, and he did what was right in the sight of the Lord according to all that his father Uzziah had done. Although he didn't enter the temple of the Lord, so he didn't do what his dad did in that way. But still the people acted corruptly. I looked up that word corruptly to make sure it meant what I thought it meant, and it does. It means corruption in the old sense of that word. Corruption in the sense of rotting, decaying, stinking. The people still worshipped at the high places. The high places were the places where they offered sacrifices to primarily Ashtoreth, but sometimes also to Baal. Ashtoreth was a goddess of sensuality. Baal was a god of power. And the high places were set up all over the place with altars where they could go and worship. And the people still did. Now Jotham is following the Lord. He's doing what's right and he's worshiping God in the temple, but it's the people. But the king is supposed to be leading the people. The king is supposed to be setting the standard for the country and leading the people to the Lord. Yet he saw it that, well, I'm going to take care of me. And I'm not going to worry about them. That's up to them. That's up to them. Well, that's not a big thing. It's a little thing, right? It's just a little thing. He didn't kill anybody that we read about anyway. And now we come to the third king, Ahaz. So if you flip back to 2 Kings, and now you want to go to chapter 16, verse 1. In the 17th year of Pekah, the son of Remaliah, Ahaz, the son of Jotham, king of Judah, began to reign. And Ahaz was 20 years old. In another place it says 25, or some of the manuscripts say 25, when he became king. And he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem, and he did not do what was right in the sight of the Lord his God, as his father David had done. But he walked in the way of the kings of Israel. Indeed, he made his son pass through the fire, according to the abominations of the nations whom the Lord had cast out from before the children of Israel. And he sacrificed and burned incense on the high places, on the hills, and under every green tree. Now flip over to 2 Chronicles. And in chapter 28, verse 1, same thing. He became king, reigned 16 years, did not do what was right in the sight of the Lord. Verse 2, for he walked in the ways of the kings of Israel and made molded images for the Baals. He burned incense in the valley of the son of Hinnom, and he burned his children in the fire according to the abominations of the nations whom the Lord had cast out before the children of Israel. And he sacrificed, and he burned incense on the high places in the hills and under every green tree. Ahaz follows this descent down into the valley. The valley we're talking about is the valley of Hinnom. If you look at the geography of the city of Israel, the city of Israel sits between two valleys. One valley to the east, the Kidron Valley, between where Jerusalem is and the Mount of Olives. On the western side, there is the valley of Hinnom, especially to the south. And they kind of come together down near where the city of David is in the old city. And what happened in the valley of Hinnom, or the valley of the son of Hinnom, is they set up worship to Molech. Baal was the god of power. Ahaz worshipped him. Ashtoreth was the goddess of sensuality. Ahaz worshipped her. Molech is a god that not a lot is known about in specific worship, and some think actually it was just a particular way to worship Baal. But in Micah 6:7, Micah talks about the fact that the king of Judah was trying to find salvation. What can I give to God for me to take away my sins? Can I give up my only child? Micah was a prophet during this time when these abominations were going on. And so many believe, and I think it's accurate, that Molech was the way that a person would seek to find salvation for themselves. Now, when I say salvation here in church, in an evangelical church in America, you think of having a relationship with God through Jesus Christ. To a king surrounded by enemies at this time, because by this time, Syria and Israel were joining together to the north, and they were going to come down and they were starting to attack Judah. If you were surrounded by enemies, salvation meant, help me. Get rid of my enemies. Well, gosh, Pastor Kevin, that's what salvation is about today, too, because doesn't that happen? The Lord takes care of our enemies with our relationship. Yeah. And so what they would do is they would take their child, and down in the valley of Hinnom was a god, human figure, bull head, metal image with his arms out like this. Now, scholars are not sure which way it went. There's evidence that it went both ways. But they would take their child, and some think they would take their child and slit their throat upon an altar, killing them, and then burn them in the arms of Molech. Others believe that what would happen is they would fire up this metal statue until it was red hot. And they would take their live child and lay him on the arms of Molech. This is the phrase that you will find in the Old Testament about making their children pass through the fire.